So good evening, everybody. It's lovely to see you all here. Thank you for joining me for my first ever webinar. My name is Charli Wall, for those of you that I haven't met before, if you're watching this now or you're watching this later. I'm really grateful that you're here. I'm grateful that you're spending your evening with me, or at least 1 hour maximum that you're spending that with me. Or if you're watching this later, I'm grateful that you're giving me your time. I help people who struggle with habits and struggle with their relationship with themselves. So whether that be food, whether that be alcohol, whether that be their weight, whether that just be with their relationship with themselves, their parents, their family, I help women to find more ease and grace for themselves. And the reason I wanted to do this webinar as we're coming up to Christmas is because I know from personal experience that Christmas can be one of those times where we can feel a bit more stressed, or we can certainly sense that at this time of year there's more stress and pressure to buy, there's more stress and pressure to spend time with family members that we might find difficult. There's kind of like this barrage of abuse from adverts, the media, social media, everything. So that's why I'm even more grateful that you've chosen to spend your time with me this evening, because we are literally bombarded with stuff. So my objective for you guys this evening is for you to use this time and these teachings that I share to kind of bring you back to center at this time, which can be difficult, especially for those of us that have lost people. You know, like if you know anything about my story, which I'll perhaps share a little bit later, I've had quite a lot of loss in my life, and I know a lot of the people that I work with have had quite a lot of loss. So I know that this time can bring up emotions and feelings and anger and sadness and all of it. So I want this to just kind of bring you back to a feeling of center. And I want you, as you listen to me, to just listen with an open heart and listen for a feeling. Listen from a different place, like not from the stuff that you know. Like we all have a little amazing brain, but our amazing brain tells us how things are, and it puts things into boxes, and essentially we kind of think we know how everything works. And I really want you to listen from a place of openness and lightness and newness, because what I'm sharing and what I share with my clients and the people who I work with is a very different understanding from one that most of us have known our whole lives. So the objective really is for you to just kind of really get into a place of settling down. And what I'll be sharing this evening is some kind of groundbreaking content that has definitely changed my life, and it's changed the lives of some of my clients, one of which is going to be sharing with you guys this evening. So I'm looking forward to bringing Anya on. Sorry, I've got some notes here. It's funny when you do your first ever webinar. I'm sure I'll get to this time next year and I'll be just like, yeah, this is so cool, I'm all right with this. But all of you guys, all your faces that I can see on the screen now, you're all guys that know me really well, so I'm all right saying this to you. So ladies, you're in the right place if you're watching this and you have a sense that you may have a habit that you don't like, a habit of behavior, a habit of thought. And what I mean by a habit of thought is that you're kind of in your head all the time. You may not realize it's a habit of thought, but we have a sense of busyness. We have a sense that everything's difficult, that everything's stressful, that we have a lot of self-concern, especially at this time of year, although it might be every day, about how we think we look, about how we think we show up in the world. And I'm wanting you to walk away this evening just feeling a little bit lighter, feeling a little bit more like there's hope, feeling a little bit more like yourself. So yeah, ultimately that's my hope for you. And everything that I share and point you towards will be the key in your seeing something for yourself, because ultimately it's going to come from you anyway. So before we start, I was going to just do a little grounding exercise, if that's all right with you. So if you feel called to, please close your eyes. I know I can see that quite a lot of you are sort of seated. Oh God. You're sitting down or lying down, but I want you to just close your eyes down, please, and just get into a lovely space. So take a deep breath in and then take a deep breath out and just let it go. So I want you to settle into wherever you're sitting down or laying down, whether that's a bed or a seat. Just settle into that space and imagine that you have roots growing from your feet, and they go down into the ground, and they're growing very thick and strong. They grow right down into the center of the earth. And when they reach the center of the earth, they connect themselves to a pure white crystal light. And that crystal light radiates a beautiful pink light, and it comes up through the roots, all the way up through the earth, up into your feet, into your body. It shines out of your heart and up through your head. And I want you to imagine that this light is radiating warmth and connectedness. This light is where you access your wisdom from, where you access your common sense, where you access your groundedness. It's who you truly are at your core. I want you to absolutely feel the power that you have, the power of that light. Keep breathing and let all the other stuff go. Just absolutely feel your light radiating from the center of the earth, coming through the roots that's connected to the crystal, up into your body and out from your heart. That light knows you. That light supports you every second of every minute of every day. And that light is responsible for any insights that you have throughout your life, and may be responsible for any insights that you have this evening. So in your own time, just open your eyes if you did close them. Breathe in and out and welcome back. So now I don't have any notes, I'm just going to freestyle it. I'm going to just tell you a little bit about me. I was somebody that was very anxious. I was very anxious probably from my childhood. And I didn't know I was anxious. And when I got into my adulthood, I created ways of dealing with the anxiety. Now, it's only looking back and with hindsight, which I think is wisdom in reverse kind of thing, that I can see how I was micromanaging, if you like, my anxiety. So in my early 20s, I took drugs, and I tried to sort of fit in by taking drugs. And then as that progressed, I didn't take drugs anymore. And then I started to drink alcohol. And then I kind of had a period of drinking alcohol. And all the time I had anxiety, but how I managed that was either through kind of habitual behavior. So face picking, alcohol, shopping, people pleasing. I had a very dysfunctional relationship with food and a dysfunctional relationship with my weight and how I thought I looked and how I thought I appeared to the world. And all the time I was just trying to protect myself in my innocence. I didn't know any better. I was doing the best I could with the thinking that I had at the time, because I thought my life was extraordinarily stressful. And I think to the outside world, it would appear that it was very stressful. So I was looking after my father. I had a young son. I'm not going to go into that sort of detail because I've written about it and spoken about it before. And those of you that work with me for some time know a little bit about my history. But I kind of... my thinking was very fast. It was on speed dial, if you like. I didn't know it was on speed dial. I thought that the fact that I had to look after my dad made my life busy. I thought that I ran my own business made my life busy. I thought that I was a single mum made my life busy. I thought that I ran my own business made my life busy. Actually, looking back, it was my thinking about all of those things that made my life very busy. And in my busyness, I created a physical manifestation of anxiety. And I dealt with that by having little rituals around food, around alcohol, around exercise. Some of the things that I've done are quite bizarre looking back. I used to have the same knife and fork. I used to have the plates in the right order in the cupboard or on the drying up tray. I used to have the things in the shopping trolley in the exact order, and on the conveyor belt in the exact order, and in the bags in the right order. My son got fed at 5 o'clock every day from the age of when he could eat until I finally saw through this, which was last year. When he was 18. Although he never complained, bless him. But it was fast and frenzied thinking that I had. And I was extraordinarily lucky at the age of 44. So I lived most of my life in this kind of anxious, very stressed. I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. So I was kind of in a state of stress for like 25 years, probably more. And I fell into this understanding, which I teach at the age of 44, I think. So that's it's a good portion of my life. But I was able to see that all of those habits were actually a sign of my mental health. And I believed for years that I was broken. And I was a seeker as well. So I would read every self-help book. I would take every course. I learned psychiatry. I was a psychiatric nurse. I then studied nutrition because I thought nutrition would be the answer. I studied more psychology. I got qualifications that I can't even list now because there's so many. Everything I was doing was seeking for the peace that I innocently believed was outside of me. And I fell into this understanding, which is an insight-based understanding. So that's why I wanted to kind of do that grounding exercise at the beginning, for you to really get a sense of your light, of your essence, because the answers lie within you. Now, I even went to India to find the answers, which of course I didn't find, because nothing outside of you, not even me, nothing outside of you will give you the answers that you need. So I'm going to bring on my lovely client Anya now, because I want you to hear not just from me this evening, but I want you to hear from her. Although I didn't realise one of my other clients was going to be here, but Sheridan, if you want to come on, type in the comments, or just to say as well, if you got any questions, there's a little chat box you can type. But anyway, I'm going to bring on my wonderful client, Anya. She's going to talk to you about her experience, and I'm going to pin her video so you'll see her talking unless you're on the gallery view. So I'm just going to pin your video and then unmute you, Anya. So how do I unmute? Oh no. Hang on, I'm going to unpin you and then mute you. Hang on. Sorry, I'm rubbish at this technology stuff. Where's Anya going now? Right, Anya, you're unmuted. So let me just see if I can hear you. Can you say hello?
Hello.
Yay, it worked. Right, okay, so this is Anya, everybody, and I'd love for her to tell you in her own words what she's seen for herself about her habits of behavior, her habits of thinking. Like what have you seen, Anya, that's made a difference to your life and your world?
Yeah, so I think I resonate a lot with what you've said, Charlie, in terms of how you've used coping mechanisms to deal with anxiety. That has been the case for me for a lot of my life, and I think through my time with you, Charlie, I have a real sense now that my experiences in life are based on my thinking, and I've spent a lot of my life in my head, and I have a really noisy head, and I had a lot of negative self-talk. Generally, the running theme was I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough in how I look. I'm not good enough with my weight. I'm not good enough in my personality. I'm not good enough, I could pin that on practically any aspect of my life. And that made me feel uncomfortable. And I think I had a general feeling of uncomfortableness, a sense of unease in myself for years and years. And I used things like alcohol and food and shopping and relationships as a way of numbing those feelings. And so my understanding of the 3 principles really has helped me to realize that my experience is based on my thinking, and that although I can't control the thoughts that come in, that I'm not my thoughts. And that I can't control the thoughts that come in, but I do have a choice as to how much attention I give to the thoughts. And that was a real gift for me to get that distinction, because I think I've spent my life thinking I am what I think about myself. And to realize that my experience is based on my thinking, but that I am not my thoughts, was really freeing for me. And so I often have a sense of what rabbit hole am I going to go down when I have a thought that comes in, and I get this sense, okay, am I going to go down this rabbit hole and give it loads of attention and go into the old patterns, or am I going to choose a different rabbit hole? So I think another thing that I've really got a sense of in myself is that I have everything that I need within me. I think I also have spent, a lot of time and money on trying to find things that are going to fix me. And I actually even, I remember when I first started my mentoring with you, Charlie, I can hear myself saying, so what do I have to do? Just tell me, what do you want me to do? What's my homework? And you were kind of like, well, it doesn't really work like that. It's kind of something that you will, it's deeper than that. And slowly but surely the pennies dropped, and it's just a knowing in myself now that I'm okay, and knowing that there's actually nothing I need to fix about myself. and my head has got quieter, and my instinct and my wisdom in myself has got louder. So it's been that real balance, that sort of has been a slow, not slow, a gradual sort of process of redressing that balance. Yeah, I don't know if that's what you wanted.
No, that's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant, and very wise and articulate. I love how you describe it. What was occurring to me as you were talking is, I know when we first met there were some physical manifestations, and I know for me, one of the things, because I used to pick my face all the time, it was a sign that I was really in my head. For you, were there any physical manifestations of the anxiety?
Yeah, so I have had eczema on and off for my life, and definitely when I was, high stress, high anxiety, my eczema would be much worse, and headaches, and just feeling not good in myself, and that's massively subsided this last year, since I've been working with Charli. And I really think it's this sort of constant voice that was telling me I'm not okay, something's wrong. It's just the impact that it had on my physical body was massive. And I've definitely, as I've got peace in myself, my body is more at peace too. Yeah.
Oh, we've got a couple of comments in the chat box from people who have loved what you've said and inspired by it. So I'm really grateful for you to share that. What can you tell me, just one more, like the impact of your kind of deepening of your grounding on the relationships in your life?
Yeah. I think the most significant one is the relationship with myself, because I've spent so much of my life not liking myself and not valuing myself and hiding away, not wanting to be seen. And that's really changed for me. And I show up in the world much more. I believe in myself. I trust in what I bring to the world. And also, with my relationship with my husband and my daughter, not being triggered so much with my daughter, especially. She's 6, and she's wonderful, and she's also challenging. And I think I often would be triggered by her and this sort of feeling of frustration, and I could feel, if I something happened, and I could feel this, it was a lovely shift of just realizing that what she's doing is neutral. It's just my thinking about what she's doing that causes the problem. And actually, when I can just come from that place of, she's innocently doing whatever she's doing, and just to be able to be alongside her much more without the sort of triggers that I would have had that were triggering, things from my past, or why is she being so ungrateful, or why is she not doing what I want her to do, and just realizing that it's just my thinking that's causing the problem. It's not my daughter. There is no problem if I don't think there's a problem. It's has been really freeing, and I can just I'm enjoying my daughter so much more. I'm enjoying my husband much more. Just everyone that I come into contact with, it just feels so much, my life feels so much more fruitful, and I just feel like I have an inner resilience that I've never had before.
Oh, thank you. You've always had the resilience. You just didn't know it.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, exactly. Yes. I wasn't plugged into it.
No, and neither was I. I'm sure if I asked everyone who's on the call, like, do you know that you've got inner resilience, they might just say no. So thank you for that, and also I just want to say thank you. I'm really grateful because I know being visible was one of your sticky points, I guess,
Yeah.
and the fact that you've showed up and have been visible is just such an honor. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So yeah, I just want to thank you guys who've written in the chat. That's lovely. And I'm glad that resonated with you. I often find it's quite helpful when it's not just me sharing my insights. And do let me know if you want to come on, Sheridan, because I forgot you were in England. So just to say, like, if that didn't make any sense, like, it's just my thinking. So of course we all have a brain, we all have a little machine-like brain, and we all have a narrator in our brain that talks to us all day long, and it could be about anything. It could be about, like, it's hot today, it's raining today, it's what do I have for dinner, like what shall I wear. But a lot of us, and I use this this little chattering teeth thing, a lot of us have this voice which slags us off. It goes on quite a lot, and it will just tell us, usually in some form, that we're not good enough, and it will just chatter away. And if our core belief is that we aren't good enough, and we've usually got that from some time when we were little, we will find evidence that that's true. And I think you heard that in what Anya was saying. And that's certainly my experience, is that I went through my life believing that I had to look a certain way, be a certain person, be a people pleaser, even though it wasn't really conscious. And certainly as a personal trainer, be a certain size and weight. And so there was this constant self-concern. What do I look like? How are people perceiving me? And then if I thought I'd said something wrong, this little narrator, which we call, in our little membership group, we call the little fucker. But imagine, like, one of my colleagues calls it Bob. So she says that in every town, everywhere, not in Wales next to the sea, but in every other town, everywhere, there's always a drunk person on the street shouting obscenities, and you kind of hear them, and they're maybe a bit they might be a bit aggressive. That's a bit like your inner narrator. Bob, the drunk guy, is just shouting obscenities, telling you you're not good enough, telling you said the wrong thing, telling you should be a certain weight, just constantly. Hi, Tina. Guys, if you've got any questions or anything and you want to chat, please use the chat box. And what we don't know is, like, the more we listen to that little voice, the more we kind of get stressed, the more we get busy, and the more we kind of contract. And if you think about, like, your mind being like this snow globe, right? Now, again, this is something that I didn't make this up. This is a metaphor that I've heard, and I like it. And I got this when I qualified as a clarity coach, hence the word clarity that you'll see in a minute. But imagine, like, this snow globe is your thoughts, and they go round and round and round and round. Now, if we pay attention to our thinking and this little voice continually, whatever form it takes, we will create more snow. It's a bit like if you get, clear water with sand in and you muddy it up. It's a bit like that. But if you just leave the water alone, if I just set this snow globe down, if you just leave your thinking alone, it will settle on its own. It has like a self-correcting system that we're not taught. We don't know this. I was very cynical when I came across this understanding, because I have read every book, I've tried everything. I had counseling, psychotherapy, CBT, transaction analysis, you name it, I had it. I also taught it. So I was really cynical, and I was looking for evidence that this was true. And I think, like Anya said, it was like a gradual noticing. It was a gradual noticing that other things outside of me were happening, and it was my thinking about it that was, I became aware that it was my thinking about it that was causing me to have stress. And then one day, and bear in mind, I didn't realize I was anxious. I thought it was normal to feel the way that I did, because as a human being, we just sort of scuttle along, doing the best we can, right? All of a sudden, I was walking my dog, and I suddenly had an insight. It came from a new thought. And that's the thing about thoughts. Like, we have this stream from this that we take notice of. But new thought, insight, wisdom, common sense, it's always there. It's always underneath that little shitty narrator, Bob the drunk guy, right, that's in our head. I just had a new thought that, oh, you've been doing all of these things, like these rituals, to keep yourself safe, because you didn't know that you were already safe. Now, obviously, you may hear something in what I'm saying, I don't know, and you won't necessarily understand that insight. Okay, so I just want to like put that out there, because it was an insight that I had. It was a new thought that I had. But it was extraordinarily powerful for me, because it enabled me to stop every single weird, well, I think it's weird now, but I was doing the best that I could at the time. It stopped in one instant. The anxiety, the physical feelings of anxiety, the need to kind of go to a drink, the need to look for food, the need to exercise, over exercise, under eat, whatever it was I was doing, it stopped in one moment, because I was able to see everything you've been doing has been about trying to feel better, trying to feel safe. Now, if any of you have like the habits, and habits, you know, can go from habit of being mean to yourself, habit of negative thinking, habit of eating food or not eating food, binge eating, comfort eating, whatever like that looks like for you, drinking alcohol, face pickings, one of mine, shopping, sex, gambling, you name it, right? Like that, you don't have to count me to go through, you don't need me to go through the list. Whatever we're doing, it's a sign that our head is like this, and that what we innocently do is look to that behavior because we know on some level it makes us feel better. And what happens is the thinking slows down. So we're just doing what makes sense to us in the moment. And that's why, to me now, it's a sign of your mental health. It's a sign that you have resilience there, that you have wisdom, because once we know better, we do better. But we can't change our habit from the same level of thinking that got us there in the first place. And if any of you are watching this now, and if any of you are watching this on the playback, tell me how many things you've tried to stop doing the thing that you don't want to do. How much money have you spent trying to change the behaviors? And I know for me, the reason I didn't stop seeking, even though I fell into this by divine intervention, fluke, whatever you want to call it, I didn't stop searching. I just knew there was something that I was missing, the missing link. as Sid Banks called it, the missing link being thought, that our reality is created by our thoughts, and that actually it's a gift, and most of us misuse it and use it against us, and therefore create suffering. And if you can't see, because who teaches this stuff? Like, I know it's becoming more mainstream now, but this isn't taught to us when we're little. You know, if we were to teach children that when they hold their teddy bear and they believe that their teddy bear is responsible for their feelings of love and safety and security, if we were to teach them that actually it's them, it's coming from within them, because it can't possibly come from the teddy bear because the teddy bear's a stuffed toy, right? Those feelings of love and safety and security are coming from within them. If we could teach them that, they will grow up knowing that they've got more power than the rest of the world at the moment. They will grow up knowing that. And what we've innocently done is just swap the teddy bear for money, for relationships, for sorry, I'd pinned the wrong video. For houses, for qualifications, for, oh my gosh, you name it, food, alcohol. We just don't know that our mind will settle anyway. The drugs, the alcohol, the laxatives, the sleeping tablets, the gambling, the sex, you name it, whatever it is, we just innocently think it's that thing that's settled our mind. It would have settled on its own. It's just that no one teaches us that. It has a self-correcting system, a bit like, you know, we cut ourselves and our bodies just naturally heal it. Now, there's nothing I really have to do unless I've cut it really badly and I might have stitches, but it still goes to work straight away. Your mind has the same self-correcting mechanism. It does settle on its own. You don't have to do anything. So I was trying to think of someone else. Another metaphor that I only heard today was, imagine you've got a helium balloon. Has anyone here like ever blown up a helium balloon and then gone, like had the weird voice? Well, even if you haven't, you know what I mean, right? Or any balloon, but imagine a helium balloon and you've blown it up. Imagine like that's a thought, right? Now, if you then take in the air from the helium balloon, if you take in the content of your thinking, your voice changes, your being changes, your physicality changes, your like everything changes. If you take in your thoughts and believe them to be true. Now, if you let that balloon go, it can sometimes fly off and it's fine. You let the thought go. Some of us hold on to a balloon and just hold on to our thinking. Or you could pop the balloon because actually it's just air in there. And that's what your thinking is. It's energy moving through you. It's energy in motion, moving through. We don't know where our thoughts come from. Who knows, right? Somebody has, I don't know who did this or who counted this, but somebody said there are 70,000 thoughts in your head. Now, I think that probably 50,000 of those are self-critical, but we believe those thoughts. We hold on to those thoughts like they mean something, but they don't mean anything. So what I'm hoping to do with the course that I'm going to be running next year is really go into how your brain creates the urges, why your brain creates the urges, and why it's a sign of your healthy brain, why your habit is a sign of your mental health, and how it's so much easier than you think. it's like once I saw that thought was made up, I was making it up and believing a story. Once I saw that, I was able to stop in 1 second the anxiety that I didn't even know I had. So now my son can eat at whatever time he likes. It's like, oh. My dog can go for 1 walk a day. Woohoo! Because that was my other thing. I used to have to walk her twice a day at a certain time. Anyway, you all have wisdom at all times inside you, a little voice, a quieter voice, something which you'll know, a deeper knowing, intuition. There's something I know that you know is there, whether you are consciously aware of it or not. I always knew that there was a voice within me that when I was going to sleep, say when I would be dropping to sleep, there was a voice inside me that was really clever and really wise and could argue the toss with anyone in my head very cleverly. And I'd always be like, why am I only clever at night? Why can't I say like these things to people when I'm awake? And once I understood this, that we have that light, we have that grounding, we have that power within us, and no one has that power to take anything away from me, because it's only my thinking about that person, whether that be at Christmas or any other time in your life. Your thinking about something will lead to your experience. Once I saw that I had wisdom, it's like tonight, right? I had some notes, and in the back of my mind, I was thinking, when you have notes, it just feels a bit forced. But when you just stop with the notes and go with the flow, you don't know what's going to come. And actually, it just comes from wisdom. It just comes. There's nothing really I need to do, and it's not forced. So if you can see, just get a sense that you are always attached to that wisdom, always attached to that light, always attached to that common sense. You are a part of nature as much as my little dog over there, who knows what to do and when to do it. She's been really ill for the past few days. She's just over there sleeping it off because no one's telling her what to do. She hasn't got a notebook. She's not reading self-help books. She knows just to sleep, not to eat, go out if she wants to. But yeah, it's intuitive, and we know, our bodies know, our mind knows. I just want you to get a sense of that, like, it's so much easier than you think to have a calmer and more graceful experience of life, whatever you're going through, whatever time of year it is. And your habits, whatever form they take, are you just looking to get some peace. It's looking in the only way you know how for a way out of this heavy, anxious, stressful, often conditioned, years of conditioning thoughts. Sometimes there are parents' thoughts. It's just our way of getting some peace of mind. And I'd like to explore that more with you on the course that I'm doing in January. But if you have any questions, because I know what the time is, it's 7:45. If you have any questions now, let me know in the chat box and I'll do my best to answer them. Okay, Sarah's put one. What if the chattering teeth supersedes everything else? So these chattering teeth. Well, the chattering teeth, I think for a lot of people, Sarah, and anyone else who feels that this is very overpowering, it feels like they supersede everything else. But that's because you're paying attention to them and you believe that it's real. You believe the liar in your head. You're believing Bob the drunk guy. And the more you believe that, it's like putting a gun to your head. And the more you do that, the more stress you create and the more contracted you become. And then the more you'll go to your habit. But if you can just see that that's just your mind, that's just your mind doing the best it can. Those thoughts are habitual. They're kind of on a loop. They're on repeat. They're stale. They're negative. They're not you. They're not who you are. So it's just seeing something different, Sarah. It's seeing that with this understanding and a deeper knowing of how the brain works, that those thoughts are not who you are. And often, and in my experience, the people I've worked with, often when we follow the urge to do our habit, we're doing the habit to stop the urge, not actually because we want to do the habit, it's to stop the craving, which feels incredibly powerful. But it isn't. It's like you being in the front seat, driving a car, you stop at a red light and you've got a backseat driver who's screaming at you, run the red light, run the red light, run the red light. And you're thinking, God, he's annoying. It's funny how everyone's annoying as a man. I'm sorry about that if you're a man watching this. But anyway, you think, maybe I should run the red light. No, I'm not going to run the red light because, anything could happen. Anyway, you don't run the red light because you're in charge of the steering wheel. But the guy's still screaming at you in the back to run the red light. That's like this. Do your habit, drink, eat the food, binge, buy the clothes, text that person. You need him to take, like whatever form it takes, it's coming from your lower brain and you don't have to pay attention to it. There's so much more to you than that little fucker voice. So I hope that answers your question a little bit, Sarah. It's really lovely to have you on here. So if there are no other questions, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for joining me, for turning up in the groups, for reading my emails. For those of you who are my clients, I hope that you have a wonderful Christmas and New Year. And if you'd like to contact me or get in touch with me or have a chat with me, I'll put my link somewhere when this has been recorded and goes out. I'd love to connect with you, and I'd love to keep sharing this more. And I do have a YouTube channel. This will go on my YouTube channel. I do have a podcast, and I'm absolutely passionate about helping people see something different for themselves, because this has transformed my life, it's transformed my relationship with myself, it's transformed my relationships, especially those that were quite difficult. And I'm learning every day. I see something different every day. And when that bottle of wine calls me, I don't have to pay attention to it. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, guys. I've absolutely loved it. I'm not nervous anymore. Thank you, Anya, for your words of wisdom. And just have a wonderful time. And I'll see you soon. Take care. Loads of love. Merry Christmas.